Hey, Lance.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Okay, so let's see.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Thank you, Mia. I see that I'm the host now and Rebecca's the co-host.
Yep, you're all set. Are you good?
I think so. Let's see. I believe we are. Do we need to show a copy of the agenda or it's a very short agenda? Does everybody have it?
Yes.
Okay. Unless there's a need to show the agenda, I will assume that we're good then. Let me just 1 second. I'm going to pull something up on my screen because I'll screen share later on. Good. All right. Well, we'll call the meeting to order then. We've got a quorum. We have one member, Christy O'Campbell, who's got some family medical issues she's dealing with today. Not an emergency, but we respect the fact that she contacted us ahead of time and let us know that she may be at least late to the meeting if she can't participate. So we'll begin with that. We have 4 members, and I see we have members of the public as well. So to go through our administrative matters, I realize this evening we'll keep it to the point here. Meeting rules for inviting public comment. Of course, we invite public comment. That's been a theme of ours, consistent through all of our meetings. We invite public comment at every turn. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to, in the interest of time for everyone, to 1 minute, which should be sufficient time to make a point. If there's further information that a person would like to convey to the committee, to please email it to us so that we can all see it at the committee email address. And that's posted on our website, bike and walkways at wellfleet-ma.gov. And so again, we do have that 1 minute rule. I'll review the committee's charge real quickly here we do that in every meeting to keep us all on point. And Bike and Walkways Committee charge. The Bike and Walkways Committee is hereby established by the Select Board to consider ways to provide safe areas for biking and walking. The Board of Selectmen believes that these activities should be available seasonally and year-round, and they are important means of local transportation, are popular activities in the town, and promote good health. The Bike and Walkways Committee is charged with the following tasks. 1, to work with the Cape Cod National Seashore, the towns of Provincetown and Truro, and the Cape Cod Commission to establish the continuation of the bike trail northward into Provincetown. And 2, to prepare a plan for future bike and walking routes throughout the town of Wellfleet. The third item on the administrative matters is to consider our meeting calendar for the committee. Tonight's a departure from our Friday meetings. We're meeting here on Wednesday evening. So the intention is to resume with our bi-weekly Friday meetings on April 23rd. We've talked about changing the time from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For the convenience of the committee members. If there's any other discussion on that topic, let's discuss it now.
I'm flexible, but I would probably say 10's a little better for me, but it's not critical.
Okay, thank you. Lance, good with you?
Yep.
Okay. We'll go with, we'll assume here that it's going to be 10 a.m. on April 23rd that we hold our next meeting. And tonight's our first evening meeting. We'll see how this goes. And if there's if someone would like to suggest that we go to an evening schedule, let's consider that as well. But if there's not a pressing need now, we'll just we'll move on in our agenda. Let's see, we have, Christy has sent out the draft minutes from the last meeting that was on March 26th. Everyone's reviewed a copy and provided her with inputs. She has the final draft. Is there any other discussion about the minutes? Everyone had a chance to respond to Christy. So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written for March 26th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. We should take notes since Christie's not here. I'll say, I think Rebecca was first out of the gate there.
A close second.
So all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. All right. All right, on to our main agenda topic, which is bikeway route through Wellfleet to Truro. And I'll read the note that's in the meeting. The primary purpose of this meeting is to review the analysis methodology for assessing alternative bikeway routes. The committee is not evaluating alternative routes at this meeting. So the analysis plan has come together. We have really two parts of it. And that the first part is the methodology. And then the second is the listing of the goals, objectives, and criteria. The methodology portion was approved by the committee in its draft form in January. And then the second portion, which is the goals, objectives, and criteria, has been shared here in our public meetings as it's being developed. All the members have seen the latest draft we have that includes the final inputs from the National Seashore, from the town government, including the police department, DPW, and others. We had good inputs from everybody, from those external agencies, and glad that they're contributing to our analysis. So unless the committee member, all these, both sections of the document have been looked at here and again in our public meetings. Any other inputs from the committee members? Okay, since everyone's had a chance to review that final draft, I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve it.
A second.
Okay, who seconded that time? Was it Ned or was it
I think
Lance?
I beat him.
Who's
that time.
Ned?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, that's 4. All right. Okay, related to the analysis plan, tomorrow, the select board is holding a meeting, a special meeting. And one of the agenda items is for our committee to approach the select board with an overview of our approach for the analysis to keep them fully informed. And so I'll be making a presentation to them. And today is an opportunity to take a look at that as a committee. And I think it's important to have a committee vote. And so I am going to see if I can share a screen. Let me see if I can do this properly. Let's see, Rebecca, could you please keep an eye on whether or not anybody's trying to join our meeting?
Yes, I've been
While I
watching.
do
and
this?
I
Okay,
don't
great.
see
Thank you.
anybody.
So I'm going to see if this shares properly. Okay, can you see the,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
that's the cover slide. Very brief briefing. The select board chair said that he asked if we would provide an overview. I offered to go, if they'd like to have a detailed report on the analysis plan. He said, no, you're charged already to conduct the analysis, appointed to carry out that charge, but please just give us an overview of what your plan entails. So that's what the point is here. The first slide explaining why do an analysis of alternatives, and it gives a brief history and I think the logical justification for the analysis. We're building on, not attempting to replace or to in any way step on, I'll say, the Outer Cape Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan final report. Our intention is to build on that. That report cited a need that remained in Wellfleet for a more detailed evaluation of possible route designs And also, and both of these are quotes, and the second quote is, where the railroad bed meets Route 6 is an area of concern due to the large number of commercial curb cuts and heavy traffic volumes. Further study is needed. So the state has bike route proposals. They've met with some public opposition and concern. That opposition and concern has been recognized by the state agencies concerning safety and also adverse impact to the town's character. So we believe that a goal-based analysis of bikeway optional routes, I should say, through the town is warranted. And our intention is to make it quantitative and computational so that we look at all of the alternatives. And the intention here is to strengthen the select board's position as they are dealing with the state agencies, try to arrive at a better process in working with them. I think it's important to note that we are doing a study that is, as this slide indicates, quantitative and computational. And to me, quantitative means that we are performing measurements, and computational means that we are doing mathematical computation. And both of these are going to be important to arrive at some unbiased scoring. And Lance, you've contributed quite a bit to the content of our methodology, and I'd ask if you would have anything further to provide on that.
No, that's a good description.
And what I'm doing here is I'm not doing a rehearsal of a briefing or presentation to the select board, but asking for comment and input. An overview of our plan. Again, we've been studying this for 4 months. The idea being, as Ned can attest, painting is 80% preparation, at least, and 20% application. So we have been doing our 80% here by studying guidance documents that are relevant to what we propose to do, and also to some of the similar studies that have been performed in other places. We have also reviewed those other studies, many of them. We selected ones that appeared to be successful and provide some useful lessons. They included studies here in Massachusetts. Well, first of all, on Cape Cod. Also, there were 3, I think, that we looked at on the Cape. Others in Massachusetts, others in the United States, and we looked at 3 documents from overseas, in Europe in particular. The stakeholder agency engagement has been with about 12 different departments, boards, and committees of the town government. And then external to the town, we have engaged DOT, the DCR, Cape Cod Commission, Cape Cod National Seashore. Have I left any out? Rebecca? I think that's it. We've talked to a lot of people, and we're continuing to talk to them, and that's, I think, a key that we'll talk about in a second. Public outreach. We've been all about public input.
Hey, Pete, we did also, you talk to the towns, Truro and Provincetown.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I want to make sure I don't leave them off the list here. We did. We met with Truro, and although Provincetown, we haven't been able to set a meeting up with them because they're not meeting due to the COVID situation. Their chair did attend the meeting that we held with the Truro committee and had an opportunity to hear what we were telling Truro and hear their inputs to us. I've been in email touch with them since then, but we haven't had a meeting with them because they're inactive at this point.
Actually, I just saw they posted, so they either have had a meeting or they're about to have their first one back.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Let me reach out to them again and see if there's a way we can work something out, especially here in the Zoom era. That should be pretty easy to do. Okay. All right. So again, not to brief these slides, but to go through them, fundamental guidelines for the analysis. We know about the work that's been done, and that we are, again, building on that work to provide guidance for what we're doing as a local study. We've been open and transparent with both the public and with public and town government inputs into our meetings. We've held a community forum. We've engaged the, as I said, multiple departments within the town government. Let's go to the bottom here. The analysis is designed to be, and this is really, these are foundations of what we're doing. We believe that in order for this analysis to be successful, we have to be rigorous in the analysis and comprehensive. And comprehensive means we're looking at all the possible routes as the public, as state agencies, and others have proposed things to us. We are not eliminating any of those options from consideration. And the idea is to present a really a universal comparison of all these objectives. Past studies have looked at different corridors for routes through the area, through the region, and they've identified them by name, discussed the pros and cons of going in different directions. Typically, those studies lose traction when they get to the detail level. And so we're trying to break that logjam by creating a comprehensive study that is also detailed and large in size, but this committee is committed to doing it. And then to go on here, objective, systematic. I think we understand those. And systematic, including, again, the fact that the study is both quantitative and computational. So what needs should Wellfleet Bikeway fulfill? We took a lot of inputs. We looked at a lot of peer studies. And those inputs included a lot of, I mean, on the public side included a lot of different sources, including meetings with the state that went back to 2019, reviewing comments that have been provided to the state and to the town. And ultimately broke those down into these that are listed here. Bikeway should be safe, should be practical. It should be something that people want to use. Needs to protect Wellfleet's environment, respect private property, preserve Wellfleet's character, and improve connectivity in Wellfleet. So this slide we've all looked at before. It's in our minutes from several meetings. I won't bother to brief this. There's one difference here, and that is the square under the red line that you see there. The last point before we go to where we perform the actual analysis of alternatives, it says analysis method overview provided to the select board, and that's at their request. The methodology slide here, of course, everyone has seen before. There's no change. And then a listing of the 5 goals that were derived from those needs stated earlier. And these are weighted goals: safety, practicality, user experience, conservancy, and connectivity. And we've talked about all 5 of these goals and voted on them in past meetings, so there's common knowledge of those. It's well documented in their past work, but I wanted you to see this slide. Now we're working with mapping software, implementing that not only to illustrate alternatives, but also to help us consider their characteristics by incorporating a lot of data layers into what you see here, which is basically a map. But there are data layers which include things like what are protected areas for various reasons, where are the private properties that we want to protect in this as well. Actually, in this map, you can see a lot of that, the private properties. But going to, of course, our conservancy goal there. At any rate, we're incorporating data layers that we're receiving from Massachusetts, but also from the Cape Cod Commission. And in particular, the Cape Cod Commission is a great source because they have the data layers provided by the National Seashore. We've had independent conversation with the Seashore, who in fact pointed us, I should say, to the commission as a good source for their data. We've had a number of meetings with the Seashore, and it's been productive to talk with them. They seem to value our coordination with the Cape Cod Commission because that's somebody who they also coordinate with. We're going to be looping back with the Seashore, though, to ensure, as we receive the final data layers from the Cape Cod Commission, to ensure that we've included all the important information that the Seashore believes we should have for this study. Mass DOT also contacted with a request for information, and they also pointed us to the Cape Cod Commission. And in discussion, we've had a number of discussions with the Cape Cod Commission. They have indicated they're ready to give us the DOT data as well. That includes traffic and roadway data, which will be useful. At any rate, we'll be populating GIS with those data layers, and we'll be inputting the various segments of the routes that have been recommended to us to consider. And as we go through the scoring criteria, it will become evident which segments of which of the routes score the best and which ones have problems. So our way forward, and this is the last slide, and essentially it's to provide an analysis plan overview to the select board. And that's happening tomorrow, to conduct an assessment of alternative route segments in April and May, and to then analyze those scores using GIS and the computational analysis techniques in the analysis plan, which are documented there, to determine the best set of alternatives, and then to document those findings in a report to the select board. And we'll be reporting those findings to the select board in June. So that is the end of the slides. Let me see, we'll take it forward back to the beginning. But at any rate, so I'd invite first of all, any committee comment on the slides.
I think it looks great. Well done.
Really has.
Yeah, looks great to me too.
Okay, thank you. This is, and because this hasn't been shown before in the public, let me ask if there's any public input on these slides that we're going to be using with the select board.
Steve, this is Tom. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Tom.
I think those are the things you had talked about. I think you gave some clarity, a couple of the things that I was looking for. So thank you for doing that. Just one thing that you guys may want to think about is, can you anticipate any of the questions the board may ask prior to the presentation that maybe, the 4 or 5 of you have had different discussions on, just to try to anticipate. So maybe you do that when Steve and I are gone, but sort of, vet out a little bit of how you may want to respond or whatever. But just planning ahead in terms of what, trying to anticipate some questions. That's my only feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'll ask the committee if you'd like to respond.
I have a question. Hey, Pete.
First, let me ask if the committee has any comment to the question Tom just asked.
I think we'll be pretty prepared for any questions the select board might ask. Feel like we all know this pretty inside and out. So we'll know that we need to anticipate, we'll be ready for any questions.
Yeah, I would second that too. I was going to say the same thing, Rebecca. We've really gone over this pretty thoroughly, so I think we're well prepared.
Right.
I'd like to think we don't have any surprises for the select board personally, because we've been very open about what we're doing. We've had I want to say three select board members, no, four of the 5 select board members have participated in our meetings at various times, which has been good because as anyone who's been following our meetings knows, we repeat ourselves a bit because in several of our meetings, we try to go over some of the same information so that we have somebody who sees one of our meetings, hopefully will be able to get the gist of what we're doing. And so we're not just constantly referring people back to the first meeting or something like that. We try to repeat some of the themes of what we're working on and why we're doing them. Tom, in answer to your question, one thing I would also add, we're hoping no surprises from the select board, and that is that we've been providing them a detailed report of the committee's progress in the form of 60-day reports. So we did a report to the select board at the end of January, and then we did one again here at the end of March. And typically those to cover progress the committee's made specifically toward an analysis. And then also second category is outreach to other stakeholder agencies. And then the third is to go through a list of what we've done in terms of public outreach and public participation. So we tried to keep them very informed. If there are questions, we feel that we're ready to answer them now.
Pete, I'd have a
does that-
question for you.
Yeah, Steve.
Is there any action item you require from the board? Is this purely informational, or is there something you need them to do?
This will be informational. And as I contacted the select board to arrange to present to them, I offered that this could be an approval, but we could get a vote for that. And feedback was, actually, your charge already authorizes you to perform this analysis. However, we appreciate the opportunity to be informed about what you're doing.
Okay. I think that, so timing wise, right? So if you start saying, well, when do we want paths? Clearly, we're not going to have paths for 2021. It's not out of the question that we might have paths in 2022, right? And so we're now in the next 2 months going to enter a window. And in that window, there may be 3 things that need to happen, right? Or would be helpful to happen. One of them is if we want to test different surfaces, might be a good time to test them here and there during the summer, short segments. The second is that we can expect that the residents of Wellfleet will want market studies associated with the segments that you may propose. If someone says, gee, if we do this path, how many people are going to buy my house every day, right? So that wouldn't be unreasonable for them to ask. Those analyses pretty much have to happen during the summer, right, when people are here. And what's the third one? There was a third one. The stakeholders, right? If you're looking at certain paths and want to know whether you have deal killers in here, right? Those stakeholders are going to be here working on their houses from now until
Hey, Steve, I'm going to have to ask if you could follow up, if you have more information in an email, that would be great. But I get the gist of what you're saying, and that is that there's a lot of work to do before we cut a ribbon on a bike trail. And that's certainly true. There's
right.
A lot of coordination.
I think what I'm trying to say, Pete, is that your next board meeting is in June, right? By June, there are certain things, if you want this thing for 2022, you got your window that you're working on in June.
Do you think the next select board meeting is in June?
Did you say that the next presentation of the board is in June after this?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
our presentation will be in June. That's correct.
Yeah.
As you're probably well aware, there are a lot of programmatics involved with the government funded program. So it's not a case of timing wise that is not the critical path for this, for a bikeway. The state has a plan, as you know, and we're aware of what the time frame is for that plan. So, any other comment by the board or by the, excuse me, the committee? Okay, thank you. And the select board's aware of our timetable as well. And we're actually, when I say our timetable, we're clearly working to their timetable because we are an advisory committee to the select board. And our purpose here is to provide them recommendations. All right.
Do we need a vote to accept this presentation? Would that be useful or?
Yes. I'm going to make a motion.
I move that we accept this presentation as presented for presentation to the select board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'm going to see if I can unshare my screen at this point. There we go. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to our other bike and walkways issues. Ned, is there an update on the question that was raised by the recycling board? About,
Yeah, the apps for the water.
Yeah.
I have two, I found two apps. So one is called WeTap and the other is called Kluska Water. And I downloaded them, and they seem to show wherever the different possible sources of water are and everywhere, but you can do it in Wellfleet as well. So yeah.
Great, great.
But that's all I could find. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let me coordinate with you outside the meeting, but perhaps we can get that answer back to them then.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought I understood your question to be what cycling apps might be popular ones that they would want to provide that water source information on, but it sounds like you've already researched it. You know what the
Yeah, that was all I could
Yes.
find. I mean, but they are, yeah, just apps in general. You don't have to be cycling. You could, just to find water sources anywhere. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let me talk with you and we can get an answer back to them.
Okay.
They're good with the rest of the committee. We'll just go ahead and handle that.
Yeah.
Get an answer back. Okay. I don't know that we need a vote on that. In other words, let's talk about, go to item 6 on the agenda, which is the last one, and that's other business. Not reasonably anticipated 48 hours prior to the meeting. So it was not on the agenda. And yes, Rebecca.
I would like to discuss and possibly vote. I see the select board executive session tomorrow. Ryan's included a letter regarding Richard Blakely's curb cut to the parking lot at South Wellfleet. I don't know if everybody's informed about what's been going on. I was actually at the meeting in 2018 where the DCR official told Richard Blakely that he would maintain it, that they would continue having a curb cut for him. So I was surprised to learn that it was never worked out between them because clearly he expected it. DCR didn't voice any safety issue or any concern at that time. So I think it would be appropriate for us to possibly maybe make a recommendation to the select board in support of him continuing to use his curb cut, and that the DCR work on that design to include it because it's a curb cut to not just his home, but his livelihood, his shellfishing equipment center. So I don't see any safety issue. The DCR originally didn't. I haven't heard anything why there would be a reason for him to not have a curb cut. There are existing situations throughout the Cape Cod Rail Trail where it's working fine, and it's been working fine for all these years with people biking across his property and him safely maneuvering. So I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are, but since it's tomorrow, it might be prudent for us to, if we're in agreement, to give our opinion as a committee on that.
Any discussion?
I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, Rebecca, because I've parked from there and launched from there many a time, and there's always cars there and people there, and he's been able to, how many years has that gone on? There's never been any issues or anything, and so I totally agree. Yeah.
Hey, Peter, can I comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Is that appropriate? Yeah, so.
No, I think we've gone through the committee members. I was going to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead. I'll wait.
I was just going to make mention of the fact when the situation came up, I expected the question of how does our committee view the issue? And of course, we're in support of a bikeway that does not create the kind of issue that this one is. And I think that it's reflected in the criteria we have for the study. We went through, and one of our criteria is, and this comes under, has to do with the protection of private property. And we said criteria 4C1, the path does not remove the sole means of access of a private property owner to or from their property. So that is one of the criteria of our analysis plan. And that we'll be applying to all of the route segments that we evaluate in our analysis. And of course, our analysis is for the region that extends from the Wolfley Hollow Campground northward to Truro. But please, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, could you just repeat what you said, Peter? I was jotting something down and I didn't hear what you said.
Sure. One of the criteria of our study is that the path does not remove the sole means of access of a private property owner to or from their property.
Okay.
So that will be one of our evaluation criteria for any segment of any route.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the only update, Rebecca, I had that I saw when I noticed that you were having this meeting tonight, it was on Facebook. And I believe there was a note from Julian Sayre and 2 action items. One is that I think it was going to go to the Board of Selectmen to do a town warrant. You're nodding, so you maybe read the same thing I did.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Town warrants. And Julian indicated that he felt comfortable getting it through the appropriation they need within the state government. So just adding that, Peter. I didn't, Rebecca, you knew that, so I'm sorry if you knew that already, but just wanted to add.
Hey, free and open exchange. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Well,
good to hear that.
Yeah, the terrible situation.
Any other comments, Steve? I know you're online here. Do you have anything on that?
No, I don't think I have anything to add beyond that.
It's a situation some of us have gone down in person and viewed. I know Rebecca has, I know I have, and perhaps some of the other committee members have on their own as well, and seen firsthand.
I would like to maybe add for the record, because some people I think are comparing that they are adding a separate road for the 4 neighbors across the street.
Right.
That they're getting some preferential treatment, but I talked with those neighbors. In fact, they don't want a road is what they told me. So just don't want them to be misrepresented that they asked or getting special treatment. They also weren't being talked to or consulted by the DCR for what's happening over there. So nobody's happy over there.
Shall we bring a formal motion for the committee to consider?
Yeah, I guess would the motion need to be simply that we just send a short email to the select board that we're in agreement that we believe that Richard Blakely's curb cut at the South Wellfleet parking lot should continue to exist. Just as, well, I guess we don't need to go into that. The DCR did tell him that originally a couple of years ago. So.
I think that that sounds like a reasonable, appropriate gesture on part of our committee. We're an advisory committee looking at future bikeway plans. Where we have a situation like this that's in an ongoing program that's under execution by the state, and we see something happening. I think we're in a position with the future planning that we're doing to provide a recommendation to the select board. And I think if we express our concern, that's absolutely appropriate. And based on the comments by the committee members, that's a universal concern.
And if there's a town warrant, then normally the committee that's closest in relation to the subject matter is also asked to weigh in. So we may be asked to weigh in again, but we can do this now, and hopefully the select board will act on it.
All right. If we take care of this letter or an email, I'll call it a letter of concern. Could you initiate the draft of that?
Yes.
And so the motion would be, and I'll let you make the motion, Rebecca, and thank you for bringing up this issue. But it sounds as though essentially you're saying that the motion is for the committee to send a letter of concern to the select board regarding the Blakely situation at the rail trail.
A letter of concern and support.
Letter of concern and support. Thank you. And Rebecca, you will draft something. I mean, this doesn't need to be a lengthy letter. I don't believe.
No, I think a couple of sentences is sufficient. So yes, I can do that when we get off, and it'll just be short.
Thank you. If you'll do that and then send it to the committee members this evening, we'll all respond back, and let's do a reply all, everybody. If that is appropriate, I don't want to inadvertently commit any open meeting law violation. Would you like to just have us contact you individually with any feedback, and then you send us back out a reply?
Well, we're okay in open meeting law as long as the gist is discussed now. And then if you see a typo or something, you can weigh in on a typo, but we can't change the content of the letter. But as I'm stating right now, the content of the letter will be that the Bike and Walkway Committee has unanimously voted to support that Richard Blakely's curb cut should continue existing at the South Wellfleet parking lot.
Can I add to that language? And I think you're right, let's discuss it here in the meeting, that we unanimously vote to express our concern, our support of the Blakely situation, just as you described, but I believe it's also appropriate for us to express our concern about the manner in which this has been handled by the state agencies.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I should put concern and support in the wording there.
But I would address that too, in a separate clause of the sentence, or in a separate sentence, that we're also expressing our concern about the manner in which this is handled. All right.
Yeah. Do you think I should add that myself and a number of other people were present at that MEPA review where we heard the DCR?
I was present at the June 2019. Is that the meeting?
No, this was a MEPA review that was held outdoors. It was a walk, and we all met at the South Wellfleet parking lot. I think it was in December of 2018. So there were a couple from the Cape Cod Commission, there were the DCR, there were a couple of people from the public, and Richard Blakely happened to be on his property. So he came out and he asked, do I need to be worried about my curb cut?
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Driscoll from the DCR very clearly said, no, you do not you will keep this curb cut. We've been friends since we were kids, and you have nothing to worry about. Richard Blakely went on to ask, are you sure? Do I need to get a lawyer? Blah, 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 blah. And the DCR official told him, absolutely not, you're fine. The curb cut's gonna stay. So I was pretty thrown for a loop and do feel really bad for him because he was certainly misled. Pretty clearly cut and dry case of it.
That's good information. Thank you for sharing it here in the meeting. And our meeting is recorded. I suggest that we not include that level of detail in our letter, that we keep it succinct and short, and we simply express our concern, our concern and support for him,
Okay.
our support of him, and our concern with respect to how the situation is handled by the state. So
Sounds good. I can do that.
I defer to you to state the motion as you understand it. What would you like to make the motion, Rebecca?
We'll send, I propose that I've been set in charge to write in a letter to the select board with concern and support of Richard Blakely's curb cut. And I'll write the wording. I'll send it to everybody to check for typos, but the content will be of that matter.
Okay. I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. I think this is an important action on our part. And thank you, Rebecca, for taking the lead on drafting that. And we'll look for it tonight and we'll respond back if we see any typos. But you're a good writer, and I'm sure it'll be a good email. All right. Any other items to discuss?
Yeah, is there any concern, once again, going back to the Amsler parking lot, I was a little taken aback where they just demolished that house there this past week. Once again, it just seems like they're kind of just moving right ahead with their plan on, they want to get a foothold on Route 6, and, then everything is botched as far as I'm concerned if they get that, it just seems like it gets them one more foothold on getting that parking lot established there on Route 6.
Good point. Let me mention that at our last meeting, as you know, we voted to send a letter requesting immediate action by the select board. This was on March 26th regarding what appeared to be a threat that the house on the Amsler property was going to be demolished based on information that members here were receiving. And we did send that email requesting select board of town administrator action to contact DCR because it was going to be an apparently in conflict of the commitment that the DCR commission had made to our select board. We did provide that to the select board on March 26th. The house was demolished on April 1st, 6 days later. We did not receive a response to our email.
Yeah.
So you raise a good point, though, Ned, that certainly it's a concerning development that property has been cleared the way it has.
Yeah.
Any recommendation for a follow-up to what we did in March? It was also noted in our report to the activity report to the select board. Yes, Lance.
Can you talk informally to Mike and see what's up, why he didn't respond, why the board didn't?
As an individual, to an individual, of course, not as a representative of the committee, because in adherence to open meeting law. but the committee can certainly correspond with them. But I, as residents, as citizens of Wellfleet, yes, I can talk with them, just as any of us can. So.
Well, maybe should we perhaps reiterate, that, since we sent one thing, didn't hear anything, but we've seen a lot, we've seen action, but we haven't heard anything back and gotten any clarification on what is, and maybe the select board has no clarification either, but I don't know, I just do think it's concerning. I don't know.
It is, it's possible the select board will address the issue in tomorrow's meeting.
Right.
So I think our best course may be to see if
Yeah.
we have a meeting with the select board tomorrow.
Yeah, nah, that's good. I can see that. I just don't want to sit back and just let everything slide on through, which is what the DCR seems to intent on. But yeah, I think that's fine. Let's see what the select board has to say.
Very good. Any other comments?
There's a motion, and I don't know, did we actually second it and pass it?
Regarding the letter of concern about
letter.
the,
Yeah, we did.
We did?
yes, yeah,
Okay, good. Sorry.
we're all set on that.
Wanted to make sure.
Okay, before we adjourn, let me ask, are there any other issues anyone wants to bring up? Committee members or members of the public? Okay, in that case, thank you. I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Any second? See, Rebecca, I think Rebecca beat you.
Yeah, she did.
All right.
2 out of 3, she got me.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Good luck tomorrow, Pete.
Yep,
Take care.